So I hope we can, this is probably the first time that you have your environment and you have your code, and then we just do it together. And then I want to teach you what do I mean by web reporting, and what is the mechanism. So hold on 1 second, I'm going to share my screen first. I'm going to keep this terminal here. I'm going to bring up this slide again that I presented yesterday. Okay, I hope you all can see my screen and see my slide. And here's web reporting. Okay, this is a slide I share over the lecture I recorded yesterday during my office hour, and which you should have received it through the announcement last evening. Essentially, for homework assignment number 3, you're having your client and talking to a server, and you might have a multiple server. In fact, this picture shows a single remote procedure call. And in this example is just say get distance. And then essentially from the code, you will see that there is a JSON that your client side will produce. And then this JSON is going to send it to the RPC server side. And the RPC server side will actually receive the same JSON, and then they will do the processing, and then there will be a result as also a JSON is going to send back to the client. And therefore the server, the client side, they will receive the result, and then that's the fourth JSON. So we have a 1, which is the input from the call from the client, and then 2, which is the input for the call, but from the server side who receive it. 3 is the result that's actually going to send back to the client. And number 4 is the result that's received at the client side. So we have this 1, 2, 3, 4. And in this particular time order, let me move the bar so you can see what's, so there are 1, 2, 3, 4 message. And for each of the message, so each of the message, in fact, the JSON, that you're going to send it to this web report agent on Cyrus, and therefore you will be able to not just about report, but you can actually see that. So there's two issues. There are 2 issues I would like to address today. I mean, this is a concept, nice. You report your work and you see what's going on. You can check on the website whether your result has been correct or not. But more important is that the number 1 issue is what is the mechanism for you to do this reporting? What is the protocol for you to actually send the JSON to the web reporting? And so far in this quarter, ecs36b in the fall, we actually learned 2 ways that you can communicate with the server. The first way is called socket. The socket is what you did with homework 1 and homework 2. I don't know how many of you actually look at the code I provided for you for homework 1 and homework 2. It's actually a socket code. So you can see that how you can actually produce a string. You essentially send a character string to the server side using what we call socket interface. This is in C, you can do that. But homework 3, we actually learning the new way. We call the remote procedure call. And we actually not sending just a string, but instead we sending a richer semantic JSON. So it's also client and server, just like this 2 yellow box. And so for this homework assignment, for the web reporting, I'm going to show you, it's also you're using remote procedure call that from, because it could be the client at this moment, could be from the caller side or from the callee side. And the server is the web reporting server that will be running to receive this, okay? So that's the first thing. We're going to see that in the program I provide you, the code, you can actually see both the client side and the server side. So you not only learn how to report, but more importantly, you actually see another example that how to use JSON-RPC to accomplish a coordination between two programs on the internet. I mean, that capability is really the purpose of homework 3. There's one student asked me, what do we expect to learn from this? I'm actually expecting you to learn a few things, but one of the things that you will be able to use library or tool like a JSON-RPC that essentially you can take care of any kind of distributed system problem on your whatever application you're going to develop. I mean, either is a get distance, either is a web reporting, or you want to do implement a social media assistant or do some kind of coordination. It's the same mechanism. You just use that library that's actually very mature for you to use. Okay, that's number one issue. Is about how to report, what mechanism you're going to report to the web agent. The second issue I'm going to talk about is what to report, what information you need to report. I already showed you the code a little bit about what to report, but now I'm going to show you a little bit more detail and in programming. And so by saying this, you actually learn a little bit about programming, how to process JSON that in the C++ context. By the way, JSON is really popular data format. Essentially, it's everywhere. I mean, if you watch one of my lectures, I said basically it's not only being flying on the internet. If you're doing web, HTTP, there is essentially XML or HTML and JSON. That's it. And but after what we call the front end processing, so you heard about the full stack software engineer. So full stack means you have a front, you have a back end as well. So front end, after you handle the front end, which is XML and JSON mixed together, basically the back end today is all JSON. So basically, after you process the front end, only JSON survive. So essentially, I'm telling you that this capability is very critical for the modern developer. I mean, regardless you're doing front end or back end, you need to know that. So therefore, one of my important goals is for you to be able to not just learn about C++, handle any data structure, but you should have the capability after you graduate from this class that you can handle the most generic data structure, which is include everything, include array, you can talk about a tree and all kinds of data structure you can be represented in JSON. If you can do that, you can handle any data structure. Okay, so we're going to see that. How do you? I'm start to tell you a little bit about JSON programming, and then for the subsequent homework, you will learn more. Okay, and you will have a lot of experience doing that. Okay. All right. So I'm actually. I hope you all have already. How do I get this out of here? Okay, I want to go to my window. And I hope you already received the link. All right, let me just double check. Anybody, if anybody haven't seen the link, anybody want to download the tar.gz file but couldn't find the link in this class, please let me know. Okay, all right. So I'm going to do it this way. Let me see. I have it here already, actually. Start.tar.gz. Yeah, it's here. Is this one? No, this is this one. This is the version I actually created today for this class. Okay, just right after the beginning of the class. I just created. Okay, so this is the file. You just download it. Let me actually make a directory. I call a lecture. CD lecture. I just want to start a clean. And what I will do is tar zxvf / ecs36b web report. Okay, this is a file. You use the tar command with usually zxvf. Z stands for compress, X extraction, V verbal, and F is a file name, is following that. So now you have this directory. You should have this directory called web report. And over inside here now, we just change the directory, go into that. Okay, now we have a few things. A make file and ecs36b _ wr.json and wr client.cpp, wr server.cpp. You might feel similar because this is exactly the format as your ecs36b HW3. But we're using the same JSON-RPC, but we're doing web reporting. So I kind of developed this a very simple. By the way, this particular JSON WR is the right format to communicate with server. Yes, please, Fred.
I think you sent us the wrong file. I think you sent us the completed one that you did, because it seems like the one that you sent us has all the implementations filled out, but it doesn't have like the contents of the web report that
no, Fred, I don't think so. I don't think so, because yesterday I was talking with the TA, and the homework 3 was missing a JSON file, a part of the JSON file.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Yeah, I sent the wrong link. You're right, Fred.
Really?
You're the wrong link.
Fred is right.
The one that you showed us has all the implementations already.
The link. Okay, it's not a link. Okay, whatever you download, just delete it. Okay, you're right. I mean, Fred, I'm sorry that. See, that's the problem. That's my mistake, because I put 2 files with similar name and I just put it there. I'm sorry. This now I'm going to do something. Just give me 1 second. I'm going to stop and then try to fix this issue. Okay, just a moment. This might causing some internet. Okay, I'm actually. But thank you, Fred. That's very good.
So, Professor, you didn't change the homework?
No, I didn't change the homework, but here I kind of separate out the web reporting in a separate file, so you actually know what it is. It's easier for you to focus, not focus on homework 3 itself, but look at the web reporting itself. It's very simple. Okay, so just give me a second. Let me actually correct that. All right. I need to correct this immediately, otherwise I'll feel embarrassed. I'm already embarrassed. Okay, fine. Okay. All right, I got this. Okay, this time I think I'm okay. Okay. 1 second, I'm almost there. And please, all of you who actually downloaded earlier, please delete that file. I don't know why it is, actually. To be honest, that might be an older version, but I know that was not intention. I want to share that file. So please delete it. Okay. All right, do I have? Okay, now I think I fixed the problem. I'm going to change my setting here. And then, okay, this is my mistake, okay? Just I hope you can just don't use that file or don't share that file. And here is the real link. Okay, I'm going to put the real link here. Here is the right one. Okay. Everybody see that? Okay, please download that one. I give you 5 seconds to download it, and we can put it in the directory. Okay. All right, I'm going to share my screen back. All right. So thank you for letting me know. Otherwise, I'll be talking, and then you're using a totally different piece of code. That doesn't make sense. Yeah.
Professor?
Yes.
Was the incorrect code, was that on Cyrus? Or
I already removed it.
okay. Oh no, I know. I downloaded it earlier, so I wanted to know like
Just you should remove that one.
Okay.
I don't know why it is, by the way. I'm not guaranteed. It might have some partial implementation done there. It might be a version that I actually doing my development, and I just loaded up maybe a week ago or something like that. Okay, so can you see my screen now? Am I sharing my screen? Yes, I'm sharing my screen. Okay. Okay, any question before I move on? I hope you all download the code, and I share the new link again. All right, and thank you, Fred, for pointing out that mistake that I made. Okay, so all right, so I hope you have this untar it. You untar that directory as I did earlier. I just show you the command I did. Where is my code? Must be here. Yeah, this is the this one. Okay, anyway. Okay, just to let you know that you should use the command tar zxdf, and then whatever that file name, which is what do you call that name? ecs36b web report. Okay, just type this command on the file, then you can actually get that web_report folder. That's actually I'm going to cover for today's class, okay? Okay, so now let's go to web report, and then you can see that this is the 4 file that's it there, make file, the JSON_RPC, the configuration file. I will actually call that the JSON_RPC configuration file because it's actually configure how the client server should talk to each other. And then we have WR client and the WR server.cpp, which will be talking, integrate with WR client.h and WR server.h, which will be generated by the JSON_RPC stub. So let's actually take a look first, the JSON ecs36b wr.json. And this is actually very simple. If you see that I only define one call. Okay, by the way, don't confuse. This is a call about defining how your program regarding is a HW3 client, HW3 server, HW3 another, how they should interact with the reporting agent that's actually will be running on Cyrus, and it will receive it. And the interface is very simple. The name of the function is called web report, and the parameter has only 2 parameters. One is called action web report, and the other is the JSON. There is some JSON which I will show you in the example. But when you define this configuration file, you don't have to say what it is. But I know it's actually a string representation of JSON. And it will return the action, the result, and then response is successful, whether you report this successfully. Okay? So that's the JSON. So if you have a workout homework 3 a little bit, you know that this is just exactly the same process, but now I'm actually changing the function from get distance operator equal to something specifically for web report. All right. All right. So once I have this, I just click make. Okay. Let's actually go over this few line because some of you actually encountered the problem. You can see that the first line, SQ is JSON RPC stub, and it takes the input I just showed you the JSON RPC configuration file, ecs36b wr.json. And then the minus CPP server is WR server, and then minus CPP client is WR client. Okay, so I just give that. By the way, if you download it, it's already being implemented in the make file, so you know why it is. Okay, you can actually do it with me right now. Okay, in front of a terminal. And it basically compiled the CPP, and then again, it actually has to link all the library. Look at the interesting library. They have to link together in order to produce this executable called WR client. And you can see the first library is JSON CPP, is a JSON C++ library. And then there is essentially a HTTP daemon, which is the web server. So essentially, the RPC is using the web-based protocol to communicate. And then there's a JSON RPC common. And then there's a JSON RPC server and the JSON RPC client. And finally, there is something called curl. Curl stands for C-based URL, Universal Resource Label. Basically is the client side, the browser. You can think about this as a text editor or terminal-based browser. The web browser. This is, you don't have Firefox or Safari, but you use your terminal as a web browser. That's the library, CURL. It's very useful. I use the curl a lot in Python, in C++, in everywhere, because anytime you want to do this kind of programming, curl is so useful. So one side is micro HTTPD, one side is curl. They talk to each other, essentially. Okay, so this line basically say you're compiling your WR client program with this object file that generate from WR client.cpp, but link to those library, and then it will produce this WR client. And similarly, you're doing the same thing for WR server. So after this make that it produced two executable, you can see that it produced WR client. It produced WR server, both as executable, and then it produced WR server.h, WR client.h. Just tell you that all the file that can be regeneratable, you should actually clean it out when you do a make clean. So when you do make clean, everything is gone because everything is regeneratable, so we don't want to keep it, okay? Regenerate, okay. All right, so I'm actually going to do a very simple demo first. Then we're going to look into the code of the WR client.cpp, WR client.h, and see how it works with the web reporting. Okay, so I'm going to run this as a client. Let me see. Let me go to lecture, cd web report. I'm going to run both on the same machine, so I don't have to use VPN, okay? So I'm going to do the, okay, so I'm on the same directory. I'm going to first run the server first. Okay, you can see that the server is just opening just like your HW3 server. Okay, so this is a WR server. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to run the client program. I'm already encoded the client. So let me actually show you what the client is doing. Okay, the client program, you can see that it is including a bunch of header just for the WR client, but let's actually tell you what I did. You can see the program is very, very short. This part, this two line is essentially hook up the JSON RPC HTTP. So I'm actually creating the HTTP client and set up my client like this, okay? And then I have two JSON. By the way, this JSON is number 1 and number 4, as I show you the picture. Because, well, it's not really. This is number 1 and number 4 regarding the relationship with the web report server. Okay, but it's not exactly your number 1, number 4 for your HW homework 3. All right, but anyway, this is a JSON called my JSON. It's going to send it to the web report server, and this JSON is the result. I'm going to actually get it back. So you can see that this is actually how I report. when I report, I'm actually doing this line. So this line is important, is that I'm actually using my client, which I created with this HTTP stuff, dot web report, because my client already have a web report included, defined in wrClient.h. Let's actually take a look. Okay, wrClient.h, you can see that here is wrClient, wrClient class, wrClient. And there is a function called web report. And the web report has two parts. One is action, one is a parameter called your JSON, okay? So I basically just put in here, this is the web report, and then here is the JSON, but both of them are actually string. So what I did is for the first parameter, I just say web report, okay? It's a string, I just double quote. But this one is interesting. This one I'm going to tell you that about JSON programming is that my JSON is a JSON value object, if you can see earlier. And I just say my JSON dot, a member function of my JSON object called toStyleString. toStyleString is printing the JSON object. It's a nice style string format, which you will see in my demo immediately. And this, the whole thing put together is actually a string, a C++ string. And what I did is that because here is expecting a constant string, so I mean, I actually don't think that this is necessary. I actually put a C underscore string, basically convert that string object to a C string. Essentially, this is what I did, okay? So there are two parameters, match this two parameter here. And then I'm getting the result. And then I'm just printing the result out. That's how the client code is working first. So you think about this program, it's very simple. I construct a JSON called my JSON, and then I convert it to a string. I send it into web report to the remote server, and the web report server get back to me with a result. And then I just basically do the same thing. I do result dot toStyleString. So toStyleString is a very, very common use JSON programming. It's just convert that object-oriented representation of JSON to a string, nice string format of the JSON. And then you will just print it using cout and with inline. That will be fine. Okay, and that's really what it does. The only thing I haven't tell you is how do you actually put the content for the my JSON? Because remember I said my JSON is a JSON string. And so this is depending on the first one, the first two lines. I'm just give an example. You see that because JSON is what they have is what we call key value pair. Key value pair. For example, the key is name, the value is the Felix Wu or John Smith. If the key is VSID, and then the value is essentially the whole VSID. So this two line, and it could be extended to 5 line or 6 line, is actually putting the content for that JSON that you're going to send it over in your HW3. That's what we're talking about 1, 2, 3, 4, those 4 messages, because each of the message is a JSON. So you need to reconstruct that JSON in this place. But this is the line new things that you need to add, because I say you need to add your student ID, not student ID, sorry, virtual student ID. So you just put my VSID, and then you put 1, 2, 3, 4, whatever, and that will basically send you over there. Okay, so this is just adding a pen to this JSON. So this JSON will have all the key value pair. So before I do anything, let me actually just assuming you forgot to do this. Okay, let's just comment this piece about. So you forgot to put your VSID. Okay, so I saved it. Escape asks shell. So I'm actually start to run the program. So I have to make again because it was I modified the client. Okay, so the server is running over here. You can see that. And I'm going to run it here, by the way, /wr client. Okay, so I send it over there, and it says status successful. That's the result. Remember, this line success result from here actually. This is the whole JSON. This is, by the way, this is a key value pair. One key value pair in this JSON. The key is status. The value is a string successful. So this line was produced by this particular line. The result, print out the toStyle string. Okay, so let's look at the client side, server side. The server side, you can see that, okay, we got this web report, and web report is a JSON, and the JSON has two values. You just put it there, assuming that's the one of the message you want to report, key 01, key 02, and whatever value you have. Okay, you print out the report. Okay, for the real Cyrus, I will give you a URL. You can actually see that on the web. So you can actually check it out to see if you report correctly. And then at the end, what we did also is that I actually record the time when this was received. Okay, so you can see that this was received. Okay, this is probably Greenwich time, October 28, 23. This is probably Greenwich time right now. It's not California time. Okay, so we will have a timestamp going there. All right. So obviously that the problem with this is that, okay, I know you have done homework 3 successfully with this for message, but I don't know which student actually did that. So that's why we have to insert it. So how do you actually insert it? You just, JSON is really simple to add a student ID. You just actually add this line. The same JSON, just put the array index as the key, which please put, remember this part, you have to put my VSID so we know, and then put whatever if you don't want, let me just make this a little bit longer because our VSID is usually pretty long. Okay, so now I have the VSID included. Let's actually see what happened. Okay, so let's do client again. Okay, it's still successful, but now let's actually look at the server side. Okay, now the server side, you see there's another report, and now we have the key, whatever key value pair, but now you see that the VSID is included in the same JSON. So I know, okay, this is this particular student with this VSID actually has done this work. And of course, I know when he actually did that. This is 2 minutes later than the previous message. So you can imagine that if when you run this experiment, like what I showed earlier here, the 1, 2, 3, 4. Why this is here? Okay, I put it here. So there is a 1, 2, 3, 4. So that web report, you will see 4 of them. And suppose it will follow this order. So this one, the first one, the P is going to be the first one, and then the P receive is the second one, and the result from the server side, and finally there is a result from the client side. So you should receive 4 messages, and maybe with the same or somewhat different timestamp, because the timestamp, if you look at, is actually the precision is down to the second. Okay, I mean, you can play a trick. You can play a trick. Say, I want to sleep 1. I don't know if you know this. By the way, there is a Unix function call. Some of you might know, but I just want to tell you this is actually, you can create some extra artificial delay if you want. This is called sleep system call. You can actually do this. So for example, after I produce this, I can actually say, you can say sleep 1. Let's sleep 5. Okay, sleep 5 means you sleep 5 seconds before it will continue. Okay, so let's actually see what happened. Let's actually change this as well. Let's change this to, where's my mouse? Oh, here. Let me actually change this to key 3, key 4, key 5. Say this is get distance. And I'm actually going to put some number double. I mean,
Professor, I thought we already implemented the get distance function.
Yes, no, I mean, this is a key value. You're reporting something of the get distance over
This
there.
is just reporting. This is not
Right.
actual implementation. Okay.
Right. This is just reporting. I'm just showing the example. I have an error. Why cannot do sleep? Let me see, man sleep. You serious? I cannot do sleep? Man, I think it's -2 sleep. Now, where's the sleep? It's man sleep, but it's, let me see if it's 2, because it's a system call. That's interesting. I cannot do sleep here. Ah, here we have, okay, I probably have to include this one. uni_std, okay. Sleep is number 3. Okay, sorry, I should say man3 sleep. Okay, so I have to add this line here.
Professor, do we need to add that my VSID in the for homework 3 part 2? Do we need to add it in the, like, which file do we need to add this in?
You need to add it to your HW3 client.cpp or shadowfly or shadowperson.cpp. Most likely, I think I will go for shadowfly and shadowperson.cpp. Whatever shadow you need to report, because this is when you are doing this shadow call, you need to report. And so those things need to be added to those calls. So remember, over shadow person or shadows fly, you already need to do remote RPC with your own server. But this is on top of that, you need to do another RPC that's called web report, but with a different server. It's not with your server, but with a server that for the class.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, for some reason, it doesn't like my sleep. It should like my sleep because it's actually this is a very popular. I don't know why, but I'm not going to fix that right now. Okay, I'll figure out why they don't like my sleep. All right, so make. Okay, when I make, then I do WR client. Okay, then I move here. Now you can see that now you have a different kind of string that being produced. Looks like this at this time. Okay. All right. So the code I gave you is number one for you to understand a very simple JSON RPC that can work with a simple client and simple server. But I already provide there is one important thing I should say. There is a port number you should know to use. This is the port number. I'm here actually using a local host, which is 127.0.0.0.1. But in your real code, when you interact with the client, it should be 169.237.6.102. And let's stick with the port number 8300. Okay, let's use that as a port number. And that's how you can communicate with a real server. And then I want to I have a 1 minute. I can go over a little bit about the server code. Because the server code, I think it will tell you what we did. It's very simple as well. Let me kill this one. Emacs WR server.cpp. And it's the JSON value, JSON RPC, and then I put a bunch of the code. But then this is just like your HW3 server. Now it's called my web report server. It has only one function, one virtual function, which is a web report. Okay, and inside this web report, this is a constructor, and this is a function I kind of simplify so it doesn't involve the real web server part, but just print out the direction. So this part of the code, I'm actually just, for this part of the code, I'm just actually get what is the timestamp right now. if you see that I'm using the time function and get GM time, which converted to a standard time structure, and then just print it out using str ftime routine. So this piece of code is actually very handy for you to say, well, how do I actually get the current time? And then print it as a string format and looks nice. And that's the piece of code you want to use. And then I produce this JSON called string JSON with this status successful. And this part of the code is interesting. It's already in your reference implementation when you want to convert from the string. So we were talking about to style string is convert from JSON to string. But now we're converting string back to JSON. And this is the way it works, is that this part of the code is actually what we call reader parse. Is actually parsing a string that's actually a string JSON representation back to the JSON format. So after you have this, what you generate is this result. So end result, the result, what is the result? Result is a JSON value object. Here is a result. I actually declare here, but I didn't touch it at all until this point. I rely on reader point to the parse function for me to convert the C string to a JSON object, okay? And then, of course, if it's not successful, I would just say fail to parse the JSON. So, for example, when I receive your homework 3 or homework 2, when I receive a JSON, how do I know this is actually wrong? That sometimes the RC code, because I did this. I take your string that I receive from you, and then I actually send it to the parser. And the parser, if the parsing unsuccessful, I would just say fail to parse the JSON, and then I will return you a failed message for homework 2 part 1. But everything is correct, then I would just return the result. Okay, so that's basically the server side function. And then you look at the server side, you have this code. This is really simple. The main function is just setting up the server and have the server be port number 83,000. And just create a server called mywr server, create this object, and then I call this function called start listening, and that's it. Then I basically start to receiving remote procedure call. Whenever I receive it, it will trigger the function above this code. Okay, so this is code for you to, number one, is really reinforce your understanding about how JSON RPC works. And also tell you that you can use it in a very generic way. You can do it for your homework 3. You can also use this for report and communicating with anything you want. Okay? All right, I'm going to stop here. And any quick question, only quick question, please. Any quick question about what I just presented?
Yeah, Professor, I was wondering, so I think you said we're supposed to add the web reporting stuff to the individual shadow objects. Is that what you said?
That's correct. That's correct.
Oh,
Every
okay.
single shadow object call, if you look at the video I provided yesterday, every single one, those 4 functions that we have, every time you make that, you need to have 4 JSON being submitted to web report. 2 from the client side, 2 from the server side. That's correct, Matthew. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, because I have my my JSON, what I ended up doing for it was I put all of the function calls like get distance and operator,
right?
Into 1.
But that's okay. You still, whenever you make a call, right? It's still, whenever you make a call, a remote procedure call. I mean, sometimes you just have a 1, but you actually call multiple times, right? And every call, you need to have a 4 report.
Okay. So what we need to do basically is just figure out how to, we don't use any of the files that you sent us in the web report folder, right? We just work on integrating those concepts into what we have. Okay.
Right. But the port number is the same. And the attribute for my VSID should be the same. So please use the word my VSID, like the way I presented in the web report, to include your own VSID. your own
Got it.
VSID, because then we know that this is actually from this particular student.
Got it. And the port you were talking about, I noticed in the WR client, it's 127.0.0.1. Isn't that a local?
Yeah,
Isn't that porting to the local one?
127.0.0.1 is the local host.
Mm-hmm.
It's a local host, but colon, after the colon, 8300 is the port.
Okay.
Yeah. So I'm just doing it so you can actually try this code without having a server, and you can actually try on your own computer how this web reporting works. Yeah.
Got it.
Dr. Poole?
Hello, Professor.
Yeah.
Yeah, you go ahead.
For the web report, what type of key values are you looking for us to report? Like, I know my VSID is one of them, but like
you're
for the other.
supposed to no. When you make a call through JSON-RPC, when you make a call to JSON-RPC, in fact, it's a JSON. So the RPC will require you to actually provide a JSON to send it over there. And so everything is in the communication is JSON. So that JSON needs to be reported entirely. But the thing is that what I want you to do is add one extra key value pair to that particular JSON. And that key value pair is your my VSID, and the key is my VSID, and then the value is your real VSID value.
So say you're like reporting your distance. So you want us to like, do you want us to have like a distance key with like that returns basically the distance of the flight?
Let me actually go back to see an example from here, from this slide, okay?
Mm-hmm.
If you look at this part of the code, can you see my screen? Probably I already, let me share my screen again. So this is the slide I used yesterday, okay? Okay, so this part of code is actually from HW3 client.h. So when you actually call the method, when you do the call method, and the second parameter is a P. What is the P? P is actually the JSON object, the JSON colon value. I mean, it's called JSON colon value. It's really a JSON object, P. And what's in the P is a bunch of key value pair. So it has action, has argument, has a class ID, host URL, object ID, owner ID. So this 6 are the 6 value pair that will be included in that JSON that you will actually send it over, right? When you want to make a call, the P is the JSON. So what I'm saying is that this P is produced to communicate between your HW3 client and HW3 server, but this 7 and plus another 7th key value pair, which is my VSID and with your VSID. So now you have a JSON with a 7 key value pair, one extra, and report this 7 key value pair JSON to web report. That's what I'm saying.
Oh, okay, that makes sense.
Yeah,
okay.
so you're right. So basically, whatever you report, add your VSID. Yeah. So that's I'm using the example key value 1 value 1, but it really is action. I mean, I don't want to mandate you about this part because this part is your design. This part is decided by the ecs36 hw3.json, right? Some of you are using the reference implementation, but some of you actually, I think like a Fred, he actually redesigned. So he only have like a 1 format, and his format might be somewhat different here. Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Cool. Thank you
That's
so
a
much.
very important question. Yeah. Go ahead.
So my question is, you mentioned the previous lectures that we're supposed to create multiple servers.
Yes,
for our
that's
program.
right. Right. But remember. Yeah. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Can you please give us a brief explanation on how we're supposed to implement this?
Multiple server or web reporting?
No, multiple servers.
So multiple server, the idea is like this. Okay, I really have to go, but I would just do this really quickly. So this is only one client, one server, right? This is a shadow, this is a real object, right? And multiple server just saying that you could have a server which is also a client, like this server at the beginning, in the middle. So he is actually a server for HW3 client. But when I process that call, I realize some of the object, like operator equal, the A person is actually physically on the other machine. And therefore, he need to do shadow person to actually get that value. Okay, so you can see that you will have a multiple, you can have at least 3 program, which is the minimum you need to have, but you can have as many as you want, which is to say the most complicated. You probably don't want to be more than 4, but definitely you need to have a 3. And then so you want to have at least one of the program who is acting as both client and the server. So he is actually, so HW3 server is the server respect to HW3 client. But HW3 server is the client respect to HW3 another in this example. So this is HW3 client, this is HW3 server, this is HW3 another. Is that clear, or Saif?
So
I think
you're saying that that the another server is going to act as both a server and a client, and it's going to stand in the middle between the server and the client.
Okay. In my just not confusing each other. In my situation is that the HW3 another. In my explanation, also explained in the video, that HW3 server is a pure server. It's not doing any client stuff. But HW3 server is doing both server and the client. And the HW3 client is only doing the client. So in my explanation, I mean, you can switch the role, that's okay. And in fact, that is just an example. You can have all kind of configuration you can imagine. But in my example, HW3 client only serve as a client. The reason is it doesn't have any real object. Everything he wants, he has to get it from somewhere else.
From the shadow.
Using shadow to get a real object. HW3 server is the one in the middle. It has some real object.
Yeah, it does have real objects, and it has shadow objects. It has both the shadow
also, yes, exactly. It has both real and shadow. Yeah.
Well, I see the distinction now. So the client, it has the real. The client has the shadow, and the real has the objects.
Right, the real object. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
One has a fly, one has a shadow fly. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
And regardless how you configure, every time you make a call from shadow to the real object, you need to do web report. Every time for message.
Okay.
Okay, that's what I want to link to today's web reporting. Okay. So we'll be able to see what how you do things. You also be able to see whether things are going are correct. Okay. All right. Any question? I really have to go, but just one last short question. I know I didn't give you a lot of chance to ask questions.
Professor, I have one question.
We won't have a group meeting. I'm sorry that, but I'll find another time to catch up. Okay.
Okay.
Professor, I have one quick question. So you said that we are getting a URL so that we can request to the Cyrus server?
Yes. That is 169.237.6.102 is the IP address of Cyrus.
The port number?
The port number is 8300.
And what's the URL? Sorry.
That's the URL I just show here. Sorry, can you see my screen?
No, not right now.
Okay. No. It should be on the client side.
Oh,
Yeah,
there
you
it
see
is.
this one? This is the one that you have. You receive it in the tar file, but when you really do the web report, use this
Right.
URL.
Okay.
Okay.
So then, just to clarify, our shadow objects, they need to have an extra, or they need to submit, or they need to request to this IP so that we can show our results in the on Cyrus then.
Right. It's inside your shadow object.cpp. Right. When you make a call, you need to do this on both the client side and the server side. You need to do this.
Both.
Right.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, because it's number 4 message, right? We're talking about.
Yes. Yeah, okay.
Remember that. Yeah.
Okay.
Where's my stuff? Okay. All right. So I'll still host my office hour. I mean, this 2 day is kind of strange. In fact, that tomorrow I also have to meet, but also around 5 o'clock, 5:30. So but the office hour is okay. Office hour is from 1. I think it's from 1:40. So I will be here tomorrow afternoon, 1:40. If you have a question until 3. Okay. All right. So I'm going
Thank you, Professor.
You're very welcome. I'm going to stop recording and.